Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to have some Division 20 ranked online gameplay in the Flyweight division using the Flyweight GOAT Demetrious Johnson. Obviously Mighty Mouse is no longer in the UFC, so it's probably the last time we'll be able to use him in any of the games. Of course he's at 1FC right now, and this division doesn't have a lot of fighters, you can see, but of course it does have some very good world-class fighters. You've got TJ Dillashaw, who I'm coming up against now, who's also in Division 20. You've got Figueiredo, you've got Brandon Moreno, you've got Henry Cejudo, and they're obviously the usual picks, just because obviously they're some of the highest rated fighters. And Demetrious Johnson is obviously so well rounded, extremely fast. The only real glaring weakness for me is that when it comes to power, it feels like his power doesn't really translate as well. So often not when I use him, I stand for a bit and then I work in the wrestling. I try to get an armbar finish or some sort of submission finish just because on the ground I feel that he's very well versed compared to some of the fighters in this division. And of course TJ Dillashaw will have the power advantage in this matchup here. I'll have the speed advantage. So on the feet I'm really looking to intercept my opponent's strikes as he's throwing. Try to catch him when he has no stamina, and also work the body because I want to slow down my opponent. It's a 5-round fight, and that's one thing I feel like people forget to do when they're fighting these 5-round fights, is really try to slow down their opponent. But you'll see what happens in this video here is that my opponent then tries to start, I believe, wrestling with me. And when you're coming up against Demetrious Johnson, it's not the best idea to wrestle. Demetrious Johnson's wrestling is extremely good, submissions is extremely good. Takedown defense and takedowns both really good. Just a very well-rounded fighter overall, and you'll see in the gameplay that I really do a good job of showing that. So as you could see in the clip beforehand, my opponent rocked me, I was trapped against the fence, he gets the knockdown, and I thought, okay, I've already taken a lot of damage, the round's definitely my opponent, so let me start working in the ground game early. Let me see how good and comfortable my opponent is off his back, and based off of that we'll formulate a game plan for the rounds to come. Obviously you need to adjust, and when things like that happens in fights where you get a knockdown, sometimes little tweaks and little changes can then alter the fight back in your favour. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to ground constantly with your opponent. It could just mean you do very good work on the ground one round, so you know you have the ability to control your opponent. You pick up reads and you know the directions they're going in, you know fakes they use on the ground, and then you pick up obviously on the transitions they want to use. And then when you get onto the feet now, you've probably weakened their body a bit, you've definitely hindered their gas tank, and you may have even hindered their head health if you're posturing up and looking for a ground and pound. And of course you can go for submissions while on the ground and pick up on patterns and how they move around, and maybe what they're not so good in. Are they better at getting out of choke or joint submissions? So that's all things you can work off of and base your game plan around. And then when we get back onto the feet, it should be slightly easier to get a knockdown on my opponent. So as you can see right now, I've done a very good job of maintaining control and denying my opponent. Not long left in the round here. Obviously you can see my opponent's quite frustrated that he didn't manage to, you know, get up, and as you can see he wasted his gas tank, and then we got another easy little knockdown there. So we both had a knockdown in that round, and I had the control time from the takedown. As you can see, I shoot instantly, my opponent goes for a takedown, we deny, and then back onto the feet here. He throws some combinations here and there, he shoots for a takedown, I get the deny, rotate him to the fence, I believe. No, I go for the judo throw, which he denies, he shoots for a takedown again. I get the denial here and reverse the position, and then from here I believe I take my opponent's back and then get in the takedown straight into side control. And the mistake my opponent made, of course, is that obviously frustrated from the round before, I thought, right, let me take my opponent down. And a lot of people do this where they get annoyed that they were taken down, so the counter to it is they try to take you down and show that basically they're better on the ground, and in theory that should deter you from wanting to go to ground. So I think that was my opponent's ideology behind that. Obviously it didn't work, he ended up losing stamina from the takedown attempts and then getting taken down himself. Right now he's reversed the position, done a good job. As you can see, we're denying the strikes there. see that my opponent has little to no stamina, which is a good sign because I believe I have the stamina advantage right now. And that was something in the round before I noticed when grappling, is that whenever we were grappling, it was easy to transition to other positions just because his stamina was sort of low. And that's something I'm going to look to build off of this round. As you can see, I'm trying to work in the takedown again because I've quickly realised that is the path to success. That's the path I need to use. As you can see, clinching here. My opponent tries to clinch me back. And right now I think that it's my opponent's ego that's sort of getting the better of him here. He's trying to clinch and grapple as well. And then as you can see, he gets me in the standing guillotine, which, as we know, is an extremely powerful submission. And right now I think my opponent's just doing anything he can to win, to be honest with you. He just wants to get me out of there. Do a good job in denying that. Getting out of that, sorry. And now, as you can see, clinches me. Takes me to the fence, takes my back. But my opponent has no stamina. He jumps on me. And then we throw ourselves to the ground. I thought this would have meant that I transitioned and got on top of my opponent, just because I figured that my opponent had no stamina, because he literally just showed he didn't. But somehow, some way he recovered. As you can see, he was going for the rear naked choke, another really strong submission. So he's gone for 2 really powerful submissions. And then he opts to go into full mount here. So this round in general, I say we've had good success. We've got out my opponent's submission attempts, and he's gone for 2 really strong submissions. We've managed to get something to take down denials and drain my opponent's stamina, which is good. As you can see, we reversed the position there, ended up top of my opponent. And there's only 14 seconds left to go here, so I'm not really too bothered about what happens here. As you can see, I posture up just to do a little bit of damage. But this is really how I use Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, is that I really look to grapple. And I noticed early on, like I said, it's the power difference with DJ that I find is really prevalent in this weight class. I feel like every other world-class fighter has a lot more power than him. It's an issue that I have with Brandon Moreno as well, is that I feel that the power really doesn't translate through. And again, it's not that these fighters don't have power, because of course, you know, they do have good power stats. It's just that I feel it doesn't translate properly. And in this round here, you can see he started off quite well. My opponent again goes for a turning takedown. We deny it, and then we get him against the cage, turn him straight back into the turning side control. Go for the Kimura. He does a great job of denying that. I was very surprised, because often people expect the crucifix. But now that we're on the ground, I'm feeling very confident, of course, using Demetrious Johnson. I've got nothing to really be worried about. And I know that as long as I keep my opponent here, should be able to work in a submission, maybe even some ground and pound, but I often look for submission finishes, as you guys know. But the control time is really what is annoying my opponent here. And when you use DJ, obviously his arm bars are really, really good. I catch people with a lot of arm bars, and he just feels so good on the ground. Even against someone like Henry Cejudo, I feel like I can really dominate. And as long as you're good on the ground yourself, you can really maul people and ragdoll people with a Mighty Mouse. As you see, work my opponent back down to the ground. And my opponent really needs to get this fight on the feet and really just focus on that aspect. But it's got to the point now where I'm getting these takedowns more comfortably. And not only that, I've done enough damage that my opponent's going to be really hurting. So when we do eventually get back onto the feet, I should be able to clip my opponent easier. Because obviously his head health's going to be hurting and he's not going to have the stam. And as you can see here, the stamina's run out. We go for the Kimura, which he doesn't deny. And like I was saying, that Demetrious Johnson's arm bars are just extremely good. So as soon as we transition to the arm bar, I know that the fight's basically over with. So that's going to be the video for today. I hope you enjoyed me using Mighty Mouse and wrestling. And why you shouldn't, you know, just alter your game plan just to start wrestling because of your ego. But yeah, that's the video for today. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe for more UFC content. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.